Avete il microfono?
Con la musica e
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel titled Accessible Tourism Business. My name is Francesca Carmagnola. I'm the director of ITS Piemonte Turismo Torino, and I'm truly delighted to moderate this session. Accessible tourism is more than just removing barriers. It's about creating opportunities, empowering communities, and designing travel experiences that everyone can enjoy with dignity and comfort. So today we'll explore how accessibility can also become a sustainable business model, inspiring collaboration across cultures and communities. We start our journey from Norway to Italy till reaching Mexico. So I give you the speech to our first talker, which is Martin Lobert. Martin is the founder and manager of Tromsø Accessible Tours, which is a social enterprise based in Tromsø, Norway, that creates inclusive travel experience in the Arctic. So please, Martin.
Thank you. I'm going to stand up. Big Bear standing up. Yeah, my name is Martin. I'm originally from Argentina, but I've been living in Tromsø in Northern Norway for 9 years now. And yeah, try to tell you a little bit of the story of the company. A little idea to know how long the presentation will be, and when we reach the slide 15, I'll share some beautiful photos of you, so bear with me. So the story of the company started in 2019. In Tromsø at that time, there was very little accessibility options for tourism. And there was a big group coming from Spain with 22 wheelchair users or people with reduced mobility. Sorry, 22 people in total, 12 wheelchair users or people with reduced mobility. And for one reason or another, they put me in charge of that group. They were from Spain, and I like to think that it's because I'm good at my job, but it could have been because I was the only one in the company speaking Spanish. And yeah, so before that, there was nothing. So they asked me, the company I was working, which was a Sami reindeer camp, to help them plan their tours for Northern Lights and all of those other activities. And it was a good success. After December 2019 came March 2020 and COVID. And I spent quarantine back in Argentina in my dad's apartment, and having a conversation about my experience, came out the idea of doing accessible tourism in Tromsø. So back in Tromsø in August 2020, I established a company, and it's been 5 years. And yeah, the numbers there, since the 5 years of establishment, we've had more than 1,500 people doing tours without, 500 bookings in total, and 150 of them have been with people with accessibility requirements. So I use the term PWAR, not people with disabilities, but people with accessibility requirements, because we try to do tours for absolutely everybody, and everybody doing the same tours. So the company is still a very small one. We're just a small team of 5-6 people, with me as the manager, guide, driver, speaker, a little bit of everything. We have 2 people working on the office full-time, and 2 to 3 freelance or full-time guides or drivers. And as I say there, we are still, as far as I know, the only accessible agency working in all of Scandinavia. And that little asterisk that I put up there was because I would love that somebody challenges that statement from me, because I still haven't met any other company doing it, and I would love to have a partner in Scandinavia. And as I said, we do accessible tours for all, both in the tours we offer. So we do tours that are universally designed to help everybody. Well, not to help, to accept everybody on the tours, people with disabilities and people without disabilities, people with temporary disabilities, people with other accessibility requirements, like the guy there in the end with a baby stroller. And we also like to do it 360 degrees. So we also want to have employees with disabilities working to work in tourism, which is something I haven't seen. There's more and more, but still it's not a very popular industry for people with disabilities. As a social enterprise, our mission, as we like to put it, is to make the world more accessible through tourism. And I like to add, starting from Tromsø, but not limited to Tromsø. And our vision is that eventually we could have in Tromsø 16% of all the tourists coming to Tromsø that would be people with disabilities. And we guide ourselves with, our philosophy is guiding ourselves with city guidelines, nothing for us without us, which is why it's very important to have people with disabilities working in the company so they can help plan, assess, and improve all the tours we do. We universally design all our tours. So the tours that we run directly, they could be done in the same way for people without disabilities or people with diverse disabilities. So we've done tours with people with visual impairments, wheelchair users, and people with other disability, with no disabilities at all, that just booked it through TripAdvisor. And yeah, of course, the right to travel, we believe, is a human right to travel, not only in the sense of moving, having freedom of movement, but to travel as a tourist and just to enjoy and explore the world. As part of our best practices, as I call them, first thing we had to do in the company is to acquire an accessible car and a wheelchair adapted car, because there was no other company in Tromsø doing accessible tours, so nobody had an accessible car. So the first thing was to acquire one. Eventually we got to the point of 3. Right now we can carry up to 30 people, and 6 of them can be wheelchair users anchored in their chair in the cars. If wheelchair user can transfer, we can, we've had in a group up to 8 wheelchair users in the same cars. All the cars, as I said, are and always will be equipped with a lift to be wheelchair accessible, and all our drivers and guides are trained on accessibility when we reach the location that we're doing a tour, but also inside the car. And when I talk about accessibility, I'm not only talking about wheelchair users, which it is the main subject of the cars, but it's about, holistically speaking, all accessibility requirements that we are able to train. Specifically for wheelchair users, we try to use and test new accessibility devices. We are based in Tromsø, Northern Norway. It's in the Arctic. Around 6 months a year, we're covered in snow. So of course, the first question I get asked by every wheelchair user that wants to come is, how can I move around in the snow? So we've had this, in case you don't know that, the wheel blades are some little skis that you put in front of the front wheels of a wheelchair, but also a baby stroller. And it makes moving on the snow so much easier, to the point that the independence gained by a wheelchair user in a reindeer camp with a lot of snow is surprising. This here is a transfer sling, because if we want to do dog sledding or reindeer sledding, transferring from the chair to the sled is of course an important thing, and we try not to be grabbing the people from the body, so this helps a lot to, also it's much easier and safer, but also a little bit more respectful. And these mats that I think they are quite common, we actually don't have, well, we do have one beach in Tromsø, but the water is very cold. But we use it when the ground is very muddy, also for movement of wheelchair users. But in that case, whenever we lay them out on the mud, everybody walks through them because nobody wants to get their shoes muddy. And we're also trying to work with the better and latest innovation to try to explore more of the outdoors. You have the hand bike on the right to do biking tours around Tromsø. And the machine that is there on the left, it's called the ExoQuad. It's a 4-wheel drive electric mountain wheelchair. That's how I like to describe it. The inventor of, I think, has another description. But this is also a machine that allows people that had injuries, which is the inventor of that machine, to go back into nature and be able to share a weekend in the mountains with their family, like you see in that photo. And then part of the work we've been doing is also trying to promote and to raise awareness about needs of accessibility in tourism. That's why I've been working a lot with other projects. Access Tour, it was a research project, still is, which hasn't finished yet, around accessible tourism in Norway. They actually were presenting here in one of the talks, where we've been actively involved through all the years since 2021. Then Adapt to Explore, who also have been presenting here in the conference, was about improving the accessibility of tourism and leisure activities in all of Northern Norway. And then AETC, it's a project across borders of all the Nordic countries in Northern Scandinavia, where they are not based, they're not working specifically on accessible tourism, they're working on tourism. And one of the things I like to do there is to raise awareness of the need of accessibility in tourism all across Northern Scandinavia as well. This is therefore been done on a regional or national level, and then also in an international level. The formatting there failed, but I've been going to many fairs, both in the travel trade and the tourism trade area, or also in rehabilitation and accessibility care. There's a photo there of me in RehaCare, the rehabilitation accessibility fair that happened in Düsseldorf just a few weeks ago. And we've also been at Fitur in Spain, ITB in Berlin, RehaCare both last years. Then NTW is the biggest workshop for tourism offers in Norway, where a lot of the work I do there is to explain to everybody that comes to sit with me that they should be offering accessible tourism, and that is not as hard as they imagine it is. And ITEC, the same project I mentioned before, also has workshops on tourism. And of course, this conference now. To give you a little idea of the business, from the year it started, in 2021, in December 2021, we had 11 bookings in total in the whole winter. And just a little clarification, I talk about winter because the high season for Tromsø is winter because of the northern lights of the Aurora Borealis. That's what everybody knows to come and see in Tromsø. So all these numbers are based on the growth of the company during winter. So we went from 11 bookings on the first year to 64, doubling to 124 bookings, and then more than doubling in the last winter season to 312 bookings of all the customers we've had in the company. Specifically for bookings done for people with accessibility requirements, so bookings done for either people with disabilities or with other accessibility requirements, it's also been a great growth from the first 3 years, from 6 to 28 bookings to 53 bookings. And then in the last winter, we've raised a little bit. We didn't grow anymore. And I have a few theories about it. We still grew a little bit. We had a few more bookings, but only a few. And I believe this is because after COVID, having accessible tourists in the Aurora Borealis region and in the Arctic was brand new. And there was a lot of people that had been wanting to do it. And when it was possible, they would rush to travel. And that beginning craze has kind of lowered now. But I'm expecting this winter that is starting now, to also give more growth. And this is, as I said, the company does accessible tours for everybody, of course, with a focus on people with disabilities and accessible requirements. So up until last winter, we were almost around 50-50 of tours done for people with accessibility requirements or tours are for people without accessibility requirements. And then in the last winter, with the spike that bookings that we had that were for people without accessibility requirements, we lowered that percentage to 27%. Now the work to be done in the next few years is to go back into a 50%, which is the aim of the company. And I talked a little bit about the growth of the company and how we've done, and I wanted to show you some photos to show you exactly how pretty it is what we do. In this case, I'm showing photos of, we'll show photos of the tours that we do. So these are Northern Light photos where we have a family around, around the uncle actually was, behind the Northern Lights, and then another small family around a fire, also with the Northern Lights in the skies. Then we have two photos of the island of Tromsø. One is a little walk with a wheelchair user and the two companions he had with them in a pier around Tromsø. And then another family with grandma was in a wheelchair and both daughters next to the Arctic Cathedral, which is one of our biggest architectonic landmarks. Then we also do tours around the fjords. So we can go out to have a picnic by a fjord, or in winter, we also do the tours around the mountains, snowy mountains, in the case of the photo in the right. We also partner with other companies to do activities with reindeers, which are, as can be seen on the photos, super cute. And as long as you have food for them, they will eat from your hand. You run out of food and they stop being so friendly. And we also have dog sledding happening in Tromsø. Everybody knows that dogs are cute and friendly. That's it for me. That's a little overview of what we've been doing. I will have all my information there. I do believe there's a big possibility to go, this is what I like to say, like, there's a big possibility for everybody to go see the Northern Lights, to go enjoy the Arctic. It is possible, it is accessible. You just have to be ready for a little bit of cold, and that's it.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much. Is there any question from the public for Martin? No? I have a question for you, if possible. What about the plan for summer? Because you talk about winter, but what about summer?
So I talk about winter because that was the established high season for Tromsø, because as I said, for the Northern Lights. And summer is not a high season in Tromsø. Actually, our neighbors in Lofoten take all the summer tourism. But we are trying to work more on doing things in summer, especially since, as I said, we are the only accessible agency, trying to do more itinerant trips around maybe going to Nordkapp or going down to the Lofoten Islands. But also to expand the stay in Tromsø, because if you come for 4 days to Tromsø in summer, we have the midnight sun, beautiful time to be there, and very relaxed. Also accessible, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's move to Francesco Chiodaroli. Francesco represents B.I.L.T, which is a national Italian network that combines culture, beauty, and inclusion to make heritage accessible to everyone. So please go ahead.
Afternoon.
Everyone, my name is Francesco Chiodaroli, and I'm the director of the Danelli Foundation in Lodi, a small city near Milan, rich in history and a part of our network. All right, let's begin. Kalos Kayagatzos. What is beautiful is good, and what is good is beautiful. I would like to begin with this ancient Greek aphorism because it perfectly represents the root of that civilization culture, the idea that beauty and goodness coincide, that caring for what is beautiful also means caring for the soul and for society. And we are in Italy, the country where the culture born on shores of Aegean, because a living part of our identity. It was brought to Rome by Greek philosophers and artists, and they flourished again over the century to art, architecture, music, and painting, up to the Renaissance. In the Rinascimento Renaissance, the master of workshop did not only transmit perfect techniques, color, perspective, fresco, but also educated his pupils to the sense of beauty, to the recognition of harmony, to the responsibility of doing things well. It's no coincidence that in Italian, we still say you did a beautiful job, to mean you did a good job, professional, accurate, something that brings well-being and innovation. This idea of beauty as a shared value, as a heritage and an opportunity of growth gave rise in the 18th century to what we would today call cultural tourism, the Grand Tour. Artists, writers, and young intellectuals from across Europe traveled through Italy for months, sometimes for years, to discover the country that Renaissance had made the richest in art in the world. According to UNESCO, about 60% of the world artistic heritage is preserved in Italy. A heritage that is not only aesthetics, but also human. Every church, every village, every museum tells a story, a way of living, welcoming, and caring. Many historians agree that through those journeys, the first form of cultural travel, the very idea of Europe as a community of culture and human values was born, founded on the pursuit of beauty as a pursuit of meaning, of humanity, and of godness. If travel, tourism, art, and beauty have been linked through our history, today we have a new opportunity to transform this wealth into accessibility, inclusion, and employment opportunities. In recent years, in many regions of Italy, experiences have emerged that brings together culture, tourism, and disability, transforming place of beauty into space of participation and life. Sorry. In Pompeii, Capri, Naples, Matera, and even in my own city, Lodi, small but rich in history, new forms of hospitality are being developed, accessible routes, creative workshop, real work experience. The uniqueness of a country lies in this. Every city, every town, every museum could become a destination for accessible tourism if only we learn to tell its history in an inclusive way and make it truly accessible for all. There is another kind of beauty that is uniquely Italian, the beauty of solidarity and community spirit. Despite our challenges, in Italy, the sense of volunteering and mutual support is still alive. And today, this value meets a political vision that recognizes it. We are one of the few countries in the world with a Ministry of Disabilities and the Minister, Alessandra Locatelli, who seeks to transform sensitivity into a new perspective, from assistance to empowerment, from protection to appreciation. As she traveled across the country, the minister met many local realities, museums, cooperatives, foundations, associations that were already working towards more accessible culture and tourism. As she had a simple but powerful intuition to connect them, to bring them together, to unite their skills, passion, and experience. Because only when we connect, we truly become strong and capable of change. Thus was born B.I.L.T, Beauty, Inclusion, Labor, and Talents, a national network of associations, foundations, first sector organizations, schools, museums, and cultural enterprise working together to make beauty accessible and generative. B.I.L.T is based on a conviction. The beauty is a universal right, and that people with disabilities, through work, can create new beauty in the very place where the culture memory of our country is preserved. Our goals are concrete. First, employment and occupational inclusion with the cultural service sector. Second, high-quality training, enhancement of individual talents, and measurement of the social impact of these experiences. The key words of the network are four: beauty, inclusion, labor, alias work for disabled people, and talents. Four pillars that build a more welcoming and fair society where every person with their own abilities can contribute to the common good. Our vision is that a new humanism of work where the culture of beauty is not a privilege, but a right, where diversity is not a limitation, but a source of enrichment, where participation in cultural life and work restores dignity and belonging. B.I.L.T is therefore an invitation to build together an accessible culture, dignified work, and shared beauty. Because, as Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world, but only if it's a beauty for all. And if we succeed, we will have done a good job. Sorry, we will have done a truly beautiful job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Francesco, I have a question. How can we make accessibility part of the plan from the very beginning and not something that we fixed later on?
Okay, I think we have a slide about this. Okay, so to do it, we need an inclusive design because we must be integrated from the very beginning to avoid late or a patchwork solution. Create space in storytelling tool through personal story, web platform, museum network, and share best practice. I also suggest to start to modify the habilitation system of our countries. We need to start when people with disability are young, and not only with an investment in speaking and social skills, but also in practical things that can be useful when you will be after 20 years old and you need to have a job. Fondazione Danelli, that is my foundation, try to do it. For example, we pick up young children since they are 2 years old. And when they are 7 years old, we start to make an occupational therapy that can be useful for tourism, for art, and also for to find a new job. So in our idea of accessibility is not only tourism for disabled people, but is something of economy, a part of economy in which disabled people can have an occupation, can have a work, can express themselves. And their diversity could be a challenge to a new tourism path and to new tourism explanation, to new art of life and humanity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there any question for Francesco from the public? No? Okay, so last but not least, our Claudia Lorena Peralta Antiga, which represents the municipality of San Luis Potosí, Mexico, where she works to promote inclusive and accessible tourism for all.
My hand. Thanks. Yes, thanks. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Claudia Peralta. I'm thin, dark-skinned woman. I wear black clothes and a blouse made by Mexican artisans. I'm the Director of Tourism for San Luis Capital, a destination for all. I would like to thank the organizing committee of the World Summit on Accessible Tourism for the invitation to present what we are doing in Latin America on accessibility and inclusion in tourism. I don't know if it's ready, the presentation. Yes. I will start by talking about where San Luis Potosí capital is located. We are located in the center of the country, in the middle, in the most important economic triangle between Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara, where the most important economic triangle, where the 70% of Mexico's gross domestic product is generated. I think it's ready. It has sounds.
A city where the past and the present come
Thanks.
together to build a destination without barriers, where every visitor is welcome and accessibility is part of everyday life. Under the leadership of Mayor Enrique Galindo, the city has placed inclusion at the center of its vision with policies and projects that have made it a pioneer in Mexico and throughout Latin America. The world has recognized this achievement. The International Social Tourism Organization awarded San Luis Capital for the most inclusive festival in Latin America, and the World Network of Religious Tourism honored it with the most inclusive Holy Week of 2025. These join other international distinctions for innovation, responsibility, and excellence in accessible tourism. But truly distinguish San Luis Capital are its unique experiences. Projects like B.I.L.T, a pioneer in sensory tourism, inclusive concerts and gastronomy, the accessible silent procession, and guided tours in Mexican Sign Language, showcase how the city opens spaces for everyone. These initiatives are supported by strategic actions, training for tourism providers, menus in Braille, programs with audio description, protocols for serving people with disabilities, and staff training in sign language. The historic center has also been transformed with accessible streets, ramps, inclusive traffic lights, braille signage, and a mobile app that facilitates navigation. Today, San Luis Capital arrives at the World Summit on Accessible Tourism as the first Latin American destination ever invited with pride and commitment. Because here, tourism is more than an industry. It is a way to celebrate human dignity. San Luis Capital, destination for all.
Thanks. Now the first image is a map of Mexico. We are located in the center of the country, as I told you. And the second image shows the domes of our wonderful historic center. We are part of the Mexican World Heritage Cities. The third image is Templo del Carmen. We have more than 3,000 sites and monuments registered in UNESCO. The fourth image, it's an aerial view of the Central Avenue in the historic center. We can see our purple jacaranda trees. We have been recognized as 3 cities of the world. San Luis is the American Capital of Culture 2025. The first image shows the designation granted to us by the International Bureau of Capitals of Culture. We carry out more than 50 cultural activities each month and guest countries. We are part of the global network of religious tourism with world-renowned events such as the Procession of Silence represented in the second image. We have a designation of origin for mezcal, having won countless awards for what in Mexico we call the drink of gods. The mezcal route is a must seen in San Luis capital, shown in the third image. We are a highly industrial city with more than 700 companies such as BMW, Mave, L'Oreal, General Motors, Cummins, among others. Now, let me tell you what we do in inclusive tourism. For San Luis City Council, Tourism for All is guiding the principle of public tourism policy. Our perspective of tourism as a right for all people drive us to eliminate physical, communication, institutional, and attitudinal barriers, among others. Every day we work to create more inclusive experiences for people with disabilities, accessibility users, and all people without exceptions. This image is a deaf person wearing a sensory vest at a concert. A great achievement has been the intervention in the Historic Center. Today, I'm pleased to share with you that we have completed the first stage of the Accessible Historic Center. The inclusive route is located in our Plaza de Armas, covering the main square and its 8 access streets. It includes the tactile guidance, repaved streets, access ramps, braille signage, parking spaces, among other features. With a resource funded 100% by the City Council. Image 1 shows the Mayor Enrique Galindo and city officials conducting a tour prior the accessibility intervention. Image 2 shows braille signage. Image 3 shows a blind person walking along the tactile guide. Image 4 shows an aerial view of the accessible Plaza de Armas. The Accessible Road project in the Historic Center includes an app with cultural and tourist information about the inclusive road in accessible formats, with high contrast text, Mexican Sign Language, subtitles, and audio describe the information explaining the historical monuments that can be enjoyed in Plaza de Armas. It also offers the option to choose the voice that reads the descriptions. This app benefits the residents of San Luis and the tourists who visit us. For example, blind people can open the app and indicate where they want to go. The app helps them providing the voice guidance, indicating the location of ramps, using tactile guidance, etc. The images are a screenshot of the Accessible Historic Center app. To make San Luis Capital a destination for all, we work closely with universities, tourist service providers, and very importantly, with the Association for People with Disabilities. We conduct accessibility reviews in hotels, museums, restaurants, etc. In accordance with ISO 21902, and provided recommendations and advice on increasing the accessibility of the public and private spaces. We have an ongoing training program with a specific schedule, but we also offer the option to visiting establishments where we provide training for their staff on the day, time, and place requested. These training sessions cover topics such as appropriate care for people with disabilities, Mexican Sign Language, on emphasis on the tourism sector, safety protocols for serving tourists with disabilities, and the rights of assistant dog users, among others. Image 1 shows an accessibility review. Image 2 shows training on appropriate care for people with disabilities. Image 3 shows training for restaurants. And Image 4 shows a menu in Braille. Everything we do complies with the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Following the principle, nothing about us without us, the Municipal Tourism Office employs deaf people, blind persons, and psychosocial disabilities. who are responsible for designing the public tourism policy and inclusive experiences. The image shows the municipal tourism team made up of 28 people. My entire team speaks Mexican Sign Language. When traveling to San Luis, a must-do is a field-to-see tour. It's a city tour that lasts approximately 2 hours. The guides are blind people who will take you on a journey through San Luis through your senses. We invite you to experience the aromas, sounds, flavors, and touch our city. Experience this tour where you be guided, blindfolded, while you learn about its history, culture, cuisine, legends, and much more. The Field to See tour has won national and international awards. In the first image, they are touching the sculpture of Saint Louis, King of France, and in the second photo, tourists are walking guided by our team of blind people. In this image, Luis Fernando Esquerra is leading a city tour. He's the first deaf tourist guide in Mexico. He's a NOM 08 certified cultural guide and offers guided tours in Mexican, American, Brazilian, French, Australian Sign Language, and in International Sign System. We provide information in accessible formats, such as Braille tour guides, Braille festival programs, information without the descriptions, and alternative text on social media. We prepare menus in Braille and sign language for restaurants that request us. In the first image is our Braille tour guide, and in the second image is a blind people reading a cultural program, and in the third image is a QR code for menus in Mexican Sign Language. For deaf tourists, who want to travel to San Luis, we offer a WhatsApp number where you can communicate via video calls and chat in real time with Luis Fer. He can answer any question you may have in sign language, such as where to stay, what to eat, what activities are available during the dates you want to travel, when there are inclusive concerts, and more. We have a WhatsApp channel where we publish information and the calendar of culture, sports, and tourist activities with videos in Mexican Sign Language. Another must-do is the inclusive sensory dining experiences. They are much more than a blindfolded dinner. Here you will enjoy delicious Mexican cuisine explained by an expert chef and sommelier, but with a sensory experience guided by blind people. You will learn techniques for serving diners with blind people and experience inclusion in a fun, unique, and delicious way. This experience has also garnered national and international recognition. The first image shows blindfolded diner sipping a San Luis craft beer. The second image shows a chef preparing the dishes. And the third image shows a chef supporting two blindfolded diners. 1 hour from San Luis, capital, is Campamento Tlaxli, where you can enjoy inclusive adventure tourism activities such as rappelling, ziplining, rock climbing, biking, hiking, skybike, and caving. This company has been operating since 1996 and has served more than 25,000 persons with disabilities. The first image shows a wheelchair user on a zip line. The second image shows a wheelchair user rappelling. The third image shows a prosthetic limb user on the zip line. And in the fourth image shows the same prosthetic limb user rappelling. The first image shows a deaf person riding a skybike. In the background, a sunrise. The person is riding above the clouds. The second image shows a wheelchair user chatting with their guide. And the third image shows a person with bilateral leg amputation on the zip line. And in the last image shows a blind person on the zip line. A frequently asked question is whether inclusive tourism is profitable. I would like to comment that the sum of the work has helped San Luis become a benchmark for inclusive tourism, ideal for traveling for people with disabilities, seniors, and people with accessibility needs, making a destination for all. It is also an ideal destination for specialized conferences and conventions. Over the last 4 years, we have hosted more than 20 major inclusive events. Picture 1 shows the Congress for Little People. Picture 2 shows a meeting for the National Network of Blind People. Picture 3 shows the Aztec International Five-a-Side Football Cup for blind people. And picture 4 shows the second Inclusive Tourism Forum, CAF, Development Bank of Latin America. We work with national and international organizations, and we are part of the International Social Tourism Organization. We have a municipal observatory since June 2022. We have been conducting mixed quantitative research to analyze tourist and profile data, information of the number of tourists, hotel occupancy, economic impact, and other data. With the International Organization for Social Tourism, we are working on developing social sustainability indicators in tourism, as well as conducting qualitative research on the experience of tourists with disabilities. Currently, 6% of the tourists we receive in San Luis Capital have some kind of disability. At San Luis Spring Festival, we served 1,500 persons with disabilities at the concerts alone. And all 5 types of disability were created for. The image represents graphs of our research area on the Municipal Tourism Observatory. San Luis Capital can be visited year-round, but the most important inclusive event is San Luis Spring International Festival, with more than 150 inclusive events, such as mass concerts, plays, ballet performances, wine tasting, sporting events, the Procession of Silence, and many more. We have been recognized as the most inclusive festival in Latin America. To cross the area for people with disabilities, you only need to register in advance. We require this information both for observatory and to understand the accessibility requirements of our visitors. Image 1 shows a blind person in the audience wearing a sensory vest. Image 2 shows Ellie, a singer in Mexican Sign Language, performing alongside singer Emmanuel. Image 3 shows Ellie explaining how to use the sensory vest. During the Procession of Silence, people with disabilities have a privileged area that allows them an extraordinary view, as we receive more than 100,000 tourists during that event. There's a physically accessible space with Mexican Sign Language, interpreter, and person providing real-time audio description. Beforehand, sensory workshop and exhibition with tactile replicas, information in Braille, and other materials are held. In the background, the procession is taking place with the sign language interpreter in front. In theater, also offers priority access, reserved area, sign language interpreter, and through a live action app or audio description expert, blind people connect to a channel to enjoy real-time audio description. In the image, the play Leonardo is being performed, a play that was playing at that time. The actor carried out the story with a large cube that changed shape throughout the play, using a tactile replica to make the experience more accessible. Our inclusive concerts are held on stage with all artists. We have 20 sensory vests, which allow deaf people to enjoy the concert. The best are not exclusively for deaf people. In fact, we have had great experiences with people with autism, blind people, wheelchair users, and others. Our team of extraordinary sign language interpreters is on stage, and people with disabilities have access right up on the front of the stage. And I think that my time is over, but if you ask me, I can show you how to use the sensory vest. Thanks.
Thank you, Claudia. This is a valuable example of a concrete choice from a municipality of what does implement inclusive tourism is. So
Thanks.
thank you very much. I'm wondering, how do tourists react to this change?
The first reaction was with the people that live in San Luis capital, because they didn't know everything and everything it's new. For example, the Procession of Silence has 72 years, and people never couldn't be part of the principal event of the city. And now everything is changing, and tourists are coming from different places, Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, and all of the places, because finally they can see a concert, they can be part of the Procession of Silence, they can be part of everything.
Is there any question from Claudia? No? Okay, so thank you very much to all our speakers for sharing your projects and your experience. This panel reminded us that accessibility is not just a technical matter. It's about people, it's about inclusion, and the right for everyone to enjoy the beauty and the culture of and the travel. Let's keep building connections, sharing good practices like this one, and working together to make accessibility the norm and not just an exception. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the conference.